The judge paused the video at exactly 7:42 a.m. The entire courtroom went silent. What our security cameras captured wasn't just an HOA violation. Anymore, it was evidence of something far worse. Karen's lawyer literally threw his pen down on the table. And when you hear what happened while my wife was screaming in pain, clutching her stomach in our driveway, you'll understand why 3 separate charges were filed that day. My name is Marcus, and this is the story of how one woman's power trip turned into the biggest legal nightmare our neighborhood had ever seen. Before I show you what the judge saw, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment telling me if you've ever dealt with an HOA Karen. Because trust me, this story goes places you won't believe. And if you stick around until the end, I'll show you the exact HOA bylaw we used to flip this entire situation on its head. Now, let me take you back to where this nightmare began. We'd lived in Meadowbrook Hills for 3 years, a planned community in suburban Atlanta with perfectly manicured lawns, monthly HOA fees that'd make your eyes water, and rules for literally everything. My wife Jessica was 38 weeks pregnant with our first child. We'd done everything by the book. Nursery ready, hospital bag packed, birth plan printed and highlighted. Then there was Patricia Henshaw, mid-50s HOA board president, for 6 consecutive years, drove a silver Lexus with a custom license plate that read HOA Queen. Not even joking. She'd hand out violation notices like candy on Halloween. Wrong shade of beige on your mailbox. Citation, garden gnome, too whimsical. Citation, she wore power suits to neighborhood meetings and called the cops on kids playing basketball after 7 p.m. May 15th, 6:47 a.m. Jessica woke me up, face pale, gripping my arm. Marcus, something's wrong. The contractions are too close. Way too close. We weren't due for another 2 weeks. But babies don't read calendars. I threw on clothes, grabbed the hospital bag, helped Jessica down the stairs. She was breathing hard, leaning on me with every step. But when we got to our driveway, Patricia's Lexus was parked directly behind both our cars, completely blocking us in. And what she said when I knocked on her window, that's when I knew this would end up in court. I ran to Patricia's car. She was sitting there, engine off, scrolling through her phone. I knocked on the window firm, but not aggressive. She looked up with this annoyed expression, like I'd interrupted something important. She cracked the window maybe 2 inches. Can I help you? Cold as ice. Patricia, my wife's in labor. We need to get to the hospital right now. Can you please move your car? She glanced at her watch. I'm parked in a visitor spot. Perfectly legal, according to Section 4.7 of the HOA guidelines. That's not Patricia. This is an emergency. She's having contractions every 3 minutes. Jessica was behind me, doubled over, gripping our mailbox. You could hear her breathing from where we stood. Patricia looked past me, then back at her phone. I'm waiting for the landscaping crew. They're scheduled to arrive at 7 for the common area maintenance. I need to supervise their arrival. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You've got to be kidding me. Move your car. Don't you use that tone with me, Marcus. I've noted your aggressive behavior. That's a violation right there. Section 11.3. Threatening conduct toward board members. My hands were shaking. Patricia, I'm begging you. We need to go now. She rolled the window back up. That's when Jessica collapsed. And what I did next? The security cameras caught every single second. I called 911 immediately. Dispatcher said an ambulance would take 12 to 15 minutes. This wasn't their fastest response zone. Jessica was on the ground, sobbing, telling me something was really wrong. The pain in her voice, I can't even describe it. I pounded on Patricia's window again. Harder this time. She opened the door about 6 inches. You're creating a disturbance. I'm calling the police. An ambulance is already coming. Just move your car so I can get my wife to the hospital faster. I have every right to park here. This is harassment. She actually pulled out her phone and started recording me. I'm documenting this threatening behavior. Neighbors started coming outside. Tom from next door, elderly Mrs. Chen from across the street. They saw Jessica on the ground. Tom stepped up. "Patricia, what is wrong with you? Move the car." She whirled on him. "This is none of your concern, Thomas. I suggest you return to your property before I document your involvement in this harassment campaign." Mrs. Chen tried. "Please, dear, the girl needs help. The ambulance will handle it. That's what they're paid for. I have HOA business to conduct." Jessica was crying, clutching her stomach, saying something's wrong, something's really wrong. Every second felt like an hour. I'd never felt so helpless in my entire life. Our first baby, the pregnancy had been complicated gestational diabetes, high blood pressure. The doctors had warned us about early labor, and this woman was sitting in her car, scrolling through emails because she needed to supervise landscapers. The ambulance arrived at 7:09 a.m. But what happened during those 22 minutes? The cameras captured something that made even the prosecutor's face go white. Okay, pause for just a second. If you're getting heated right now, drop a comment and let me know. Because this is only the beginning. What we discovered on those security tapes revealed a pattern that Patricia had been hiding for months. Smash that like button if you think HOA board members need accountability. Now let me show you what happened at the hospital. Jessica and the baby were okay, thank God. Emergency C-section, but both healthy. Our daughter Zoe arrived at 9:17 a.m., 6 pounds, 2 ounces. Perfect. But the doctor pulled me aside afterward. She's stable now, but another 30 minutes. We'd be having a very different conversation. Early placental abruption. The delay could have been catastrophic. I filed a police report from the hospital. The officer was sympathetic, but realistic. Unless she physically prevented you from leaving, there's not much we can charge her with. It's a civil matter, maybe harassment. That's when my brother Devin called. He's a paralegal in Chicago. "Marcus, listen to me. Document everything. Get the security footage from your house. Talk to neighbors who witnessed it. And check your HOAS bylaws. I guarantee there's something in there about emergency access." I spent the next 3 days living at the hospital, but every spare moment I was on the phone. Talked to 7 different neighbors. Everyone had stories about Patricia. Citations for minor infractions, hostile interactions. But here's what caught my attention. For different families mention the same thing. She's blocked people in before. The Johnsons, 2 months ago. Mr. Rodriguez, last September. The Patels, just 3 weeks before Jessica went into labor. Every time she wants to make a point, Mrs. Johnson told me, she parks that Lexus exactly where it'll cause maximum inconvenience. Then she sits there, watching people get frustrated. It's like she feeds off it. So I pulled our security footage. We had 4 cameras: front door, driveway, garage, and backyard. I started reviewing the morning of May 15th. But then I went back further. And what I found from the past 6 months, even I wasn't prepared for this. The footage was damning. May 15th showed everything: Jessica collapsing, me begging, Patricia sitting in her car completely unbothered. You could read her lips in several sections. Not my problem. But the pattern that emerged from the previous months was worse. March 23rd. Patricia blocking the Johnsons' driveway at 5:47 a.m. Mr. Johnson in scrubs, he's an ER nurse, late for his shift. Her sitting there for 19 minutes while he pleaded. September 8th. Mr. Rodriguez blocked in. His daughter's volleyball tournament starting in 30 minutes. Patricia wouldn't move until he apologized for planting unapproved hydrangeas. April 24th. The Patels blocked for 43 minutes. Their elderly mother having a medical episode inside. Patricia finally moved only when their son threatened to call a tow truck. But here's the kicker. Every single case, there was no HOA business. No landscaping crews. No inspections. She was just sitting there, scrolling her phone, occasionally glancing up to watch people's frustration. I took the footage to Devin. He went silent for a solid minute, just watching. Marcus, this is a pattern of intentional infliction, of emotional distress, maybe even criminal menacing, depending on the jurisdiction. And dude, with what happened to Jessica, we're talking potential endangerment charges. Can we sue? Sue, brother. We can bury her. We hired an attorney, Sarah Chen, no relation to Mrs. Chen, specializes in HOA disputes and personal injury. First consultation, I showed her everything. She leaned back in her chair. I've been practicing for 16 years. This is the most clear-cut case of abuse of authority I've ever seen. The medical angle with your wife makes it even stronger. What are we looking at? Civil suit for emotional distress, medical expenses, potential punitive damages. But here's what I want to do. I want to pursue criminal charges simultaneously. Reckless endangerment, menacing, and possibly false imprisonment, depending on how the DA interprets the blocking statute. The HOA board tried to circle the wagons. Patricia's husband was a real estate developer with connections. They hired some fancy law firm out of Atlanta, sent us a letter threatening a countersuit for defamation. Sarah laughed when she read it. They're scared. Good. Let them be scared. We filed in civil court first. Local news picked it up. HOA president blocks pregnant woman in labor. The story went regional, then national. Our doorbell camera footage of Jessica collapsed on the driveway. Patricia sitting in her car, unbothered. It went viral. 3 million views in 4 days. The DA's office called Sarah. We've reviewed the evidence. We're filing charges. Patricia showed up to the arraignment in a designer suit, hair perfect, confident smile. Like this was all some minor misunderstanding that would blow over. The preliminary hearing was packed. Every neighbor from our street showed up. Local news cameras outside. Patricia sat at the defense table, looking unbothered, whispering to her attorney. The prosecutor's assistant DA named Michael Torres stood up with a tablet. Your Honor, we'd like to enter Exhibits A through M security footage from the plaintiff's residence and surrounding properties. He started with May 15th. The courtroom went silent, watching Jessica collapse, watching me beg, watching Patricia sit there, scrolling her phone. You could hear people gasping. Patricia's lawyer objected. Your Honor, my client was simply parked in a legal spot. She had no obligation to do. We'll get to that, Torres said. But first, I want to show the pattern. He played the other incidents. March 23rd, September 8th, April 24th. 3 more cases we discovered during investigation. The judge's expression changed from neutral to actively disgusted. Your Honor, Torres continued, what we have here isn't a single incident. It's systematic. The defendant has used her position as HOA president to intentionally cause distress, block residents, and exert control. In the case of May 15th, her actions directly endangered the life of Mrs. Davis and her unborn child. Patricia's lawyer stood up. There's no proof of intent to harm. That's when Torres played the audio enhancement. Our cameras had audio, but it was distant, muffled. The DA's office had sent it to their forensic tech. They'd cleaned it up, isolated voices. Patricia's voice, crystal clear, from inside her car at 6:58 a.m., while Jessica was on the ground. Maybe this will teach them to follow the rules. The courtroom erupted, but that wasn't even the worst part. Because when Torres showed the judge what Patricia had been doing on her phone during those 22 minutes, even her own lawyer put his head in his hands. The enhanced footage showed Patricia's phone screen she'd been posting on the HOA Facebook group, live, while Jessica was having a medical emergency. The posts dealing with another entitled resident who thinks rules don't apply to them. Some people need to learn that emergencies don't excuse HOA violations. Standing my ground here, 13 comments from other board members and residents agreeing with her. In real time, While my wife was on the ground, the judge called a recess. When we returned, his face was stone. I've reviewed all the evidence. Mrs. Henshaw, I'm finding probable cause on all charges. Reckless endangerment, menacing, and criminal mischief. Bail is set at $25,000. Additionally, I'm issuing a restraining order to have no contact with the Davis family, and you're barred from any HOA activities pending resolution of this case. Patricia's face went white. Your Honor, that's my position as board president. Was your position. Next case, the criminal case took 4 months. Patricia pled no contest to reckless endangerment and criminal mischief. 2 years probation, 200 hours community service, $5,000 fine, and she had to resign from the HOA board immediately. But the civil case. That's where we really won. Sarah proved emotional distress. With medical documentation, Jessica had developed anxiety, needed therapy. The doctor testified about the danger of the delay. We had testimony from 6 other families Patricia had harassed. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. They came back with a verdict: $175,000 in compensatory damages, $300,000 in punitive damages. Plus, she had to pay all our legal fees. Patricia's husband tried to appeal. It went nowhere. But here's my favorite part. The HOA held an emergency election. New board, new president. First thing they did, passed a bylaw specifically about emergency access. Anyone blocking a driveway during a medical emergency can be immediately towed and faces automatic expulsion from the HOA. They named it Zoe's Law, after our daughter. 3 other families Patricia had harassed filed their own suits. Last I heard, she and her husband moved to Florida. Sold their house at a loss just to get out. Look, here's what I learned from this whole nightmare. Power without accountability turns people into monsters. Patricia wasn't evil. She was drunk on authority. 6 years of unchecked control, nobody standing up to her. A board that enabled her behavior. And HOAs, they're only as good as the people running them. Our new board is fantastic, reasonable, compassionate, actually care about the community. But it took a lawsuit and national news coverage to get there. If you're dealing with an HOA tyrant, document everything. Every interaction, every citation, every conversation. Get cameras, talk to neighbors, build your case. Because people like Patricia, they don't stop until they're forced to stop. And most importantly, ever underestimate the power of receipts. Those security cameras saved us. Without them, it would have been our word against hers. But with them, the truth was undeniable. Jessica and Zoe are doing amazing, by the way. Zoe just turned 6 months old, healthy as can be. And every time I pull into our driveway, I look at that spot where Patricia parked her Lexus, and I remember justice might be slow, but when it comes hard. Thanks for watching. I'm Marcus, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, keep those cameras rolling, keep those receipts organized, and never let the Karens win.